Tom Aspinall's title defense ended in a sudden no contest due to a brutal double eye poke. Dana White didn't just call it an accident, he called it a problem. With Aspinall rushed to hospital and the heavyweight division in chaos, White's remarks exposed how serious eye pokes have become in MMA. Tonight, we dive into the injury, the hospitalization, and why the UFC boss says this one should worry every fan. Under the bright lights of Abu Dhabi, Tom Aspinall's title defense against Cyril Gane was supposed to be a defining moment. The night a British champion proved he could reign beyond home soil. Instead, it became one of the most chaotic main event endings in UFC history. Midway through the first round, Gane extended his lead hand to measure distance, his fingertips catching Aspinall clean across both eyes. The heavyweight immediately recoiled, shouting in pain, pawing at his face. The referee jumped in, waving for the doctor. Moments later, Aspinall muttered the 4 words no fighter ever wants to say: "I can't see anything." In seconds, the arena's roar turned to silence.
I mean, I feel the way everybody feels. Great showing, ending, you know?
Gane paced anxiously, shaking his head, realizing what had happened. Fans who came for a war instead watched a champion fighting panic, not punches. The doctor tested Aspinall's vision. 1 finger, 2 fingers, no response. Fight over, a no contest, just like that. Backstage, Dana White looked visibly frustrated. He'd built this card around Aspinall, the new star of the heavyweight division. His first reaction, caught by reporters: great showing, ending. But as news came in that Aspinall was being transported to hospital with blurred vision, White's tone shifted from promotional to paternal. "You never want to see that," he said. "It ruins everything." What was supposed to be a celebration became a crisis. And the boss knew it. Minutes after the no contest was announced, Aspinall was escorted from the cage to the locker room, his right eye nearly swollen shut. Within the hour, he was taken by medical staff to a local hospital for immediate examination. There, specialists confirmed trauma to both eyes, particularly the right, but thankfully no retinal detachment. The diagnosis: severe irritation, swelling, and temporary vision loss. Doctors advised he avoid bright light and undergo a full ophthalmologic scan back in the UK. Dana White was briefed immediately. During the post-fight press conference, he told reporters the situation looked bad, but insisted the priority was Aspinall's health. "We're getting him looked at right now," White said. "He's in good hands. But yeah, it's serious." The UFC president, known for his tough talk and business focus, appeared unusually subdued. His words carried less bravado, more concern.
You know, I can't make people fight, right? If I want to put together a fight, I can't make people fight. And you definitely can't make somebody continue if they feel they've been injured. Only Tom knows what happened. You know, could he see, couldn't he see, could he continue? Only he knows that.
"That kid worked his ass off for this," he added. "No one deserves that kind of ending." The hospitalization changed the tone of the entire event. Broadcasters cut away from pre-planned highlights to replay the slow-motion footage. The moment fingers met eyes. The collective gasp from fans wasn't about blood or knockouts. It was the fear that one of the sport's brightest stars might have suffered a career-changing injury. By the time Dana White stepped up to the microphone at the post-fight press conference, frustration was written all over his face. He fielded the first question: would there be a rematch? With a deep sigh.
Yeah. Total pain in the ass, but yes.
"Yeah, of course it makes sense," he said, "but it's a total pain in the ass." Then the tone sharpened. "This eye poke bullshit has got to stop. It's fucking ridiculous."
Who the fuck knows? Who gives a shit? What are you gonna do?
His voice carried the same intensity he's used for years when railing against judging or weight cutting, but this time it felt personal. White went on to say that fans should be worried, not just about the accident itself, but about the pattern. "This isn't one fight," he snapped. "It's every goddamn month. Somebody's getting poked, fights are getting stopped, and now a champion's in the hospital." The profanity wasn't showmanship. It was genuine frustration from a man watching his promotion's biggest moment implode in real time. He didn't blame Gane directly. He called the strike clearly accidental, but emphasized that something had to change. Cyril's a class act. He didn't mean it. But intent doesn't matter when you're talking about eyesight, White said. The moment summed up everything wrong with the situation. A champion injured, a a challenger heartbroken, and a promoter furious at the sport itself. White's final comment of the night was simple but cutting. People love to talk about fighter pay, but if you can't see after a fight, none of that shit matters. The room went silent. For once, even Dana White sounded like a man tired of watching his athletes suffer for a flaw the sport refuses to fix. In the hours after UFC 321, Dana White's quotes dominated every headline. But behind the bluster, there was something deeper: exhaustion. He's seen it before. Eye pokes ruining fights, forcing stoppages, leaving fans angry and fighters scarred. But this time, it hit the division's biggest star. It should worry fans, White said. This keeps happening. He's not wrong. Since 2015, more than 30 UFC bouts have been paused or ended because of eye pokes. The problem isn't malicious fighters, it's the gloves. Their design forces hands flat, encouraging extended fingers for range control. Fighters like Bilal Muhammad and Michael Bisping have begged for curved gloves for years, but the UFC never adopted them. Now, with a hospitalized champion and a pay-per-view ruined, that hesitation looks indefensible. White's tone, caught in the bloody elbow post-fight interview, was sharp but tired. It's stupid. We've talked about this forever. He admitted it's time for action, though he didn't say what kind. The challenge is balancing reform with business. Redesigning gloves, retraining fighters, and recertifying equipment takes months. But fans don't want excuses anymore, and neither does White. The UFC boss who once brushed off criticism is now on the defensive. Eye pokes aren't just fight hazards, they're brand hazards. Every slow-motion replay of Gaines' fingers scraping Aspinall's cornea is another dent in the company's image. For a promotion built on spectacle, safety suddenly became the storyline. And for Dana White, that's a PR war he can't win with words alone. While the world debated rule changes, the UFC's financial machine hit pause.
I said earlier, because of the John Jones fight, I think everybody was sleeping on Cyril Gane and sort of wrote him off. And he's right behind me. He's coming in next, so you guys can ask him how he felt. But I feel like, you know, I'm sure in his camp, he was training like an animal for this fight, and it's unfortunate that it ended the way that it did. And yes, I think that there probably will be a lot more interest in the rematch after they saw, you know, I mean, he had Tom bloodied up, and, you know, Tom didn't want to continue in the fight.
The Aspinall-Gane fight was supposed to kickstart Q4's heavyweight cycle, setting up massive rematches, pay-per-views, and UK events. Instead, a no contest left everything in limbo. Aspinall's hospitalization meant uncertainty, and uncertainty kills momentum. Internally, marketing teams scrambled. The promotional footage built around Aspinall, the dominant champion, suddenly had no payoff. The rematch that was supposed to sell itself now carried risk. If Aspinall's medical scans showed long-term issues, months of hype would vanish overnight. Broadcasters who'd invested heavily in international rights wanted answers. Dana White, caught between honesty and optimism, said only, "We'll wait for the doctors. That's all we can do." That statement underscored the problem. The UFC doesn't control time, and injuries don't follow schedules. White's business instincts told him to keep the division alive, but his conscience told him to slow down. Fighters aren't disposable, and Aspinall's YouTube video showing his damaged eye drove that point home harder than any press release. The heavyweight belt, which symbolized unstoppable power, now represented fragility. For Dana White, that realization hurt as much as the financial hit. Every UFC card relies on momentum, and in that moment, the entire division was on hold because of one unlucky swipe. It wasn't just an accident, it was a reminder that even billion-dollar empires can crumble when one fighter can't open his eyes. In public, Dana White played his usual role: firm, confident, unsentimental. "We'll fix it," he said. "We always do." But behind closed doors, sources told TalkSport he was frustrated. Not at Gane, not even at Aspinall, but at the entire situation. The UFC's job is to deliver violence safely, and moments like this expose how thin that balance really is. White's challenge isn't only medical, it's moral. Fighters risk everything, but fans expect entertainment. How do you protect one without killing the other? "We push these guys to the limit," White said, "but we have to keep them safe. That's non-negotiable." Still, the paradox remains. The sport thrives on danger. You can't sanitize combat without losing its edge. And White knows that's why people watch, because it feels unpredictable, primal. Yet unpredictability is what put Aspinall in a hospital bed. To his credit, White didn't shift blame. He praised Gaines' sportsmanship for apologizing immediately, and he publicly supported Aspinall's recovery. But he also hinted that the rematch, when it comes, must be done the right way. His tone suggested more than matchmaking. It was an appeal to rethink how the sport prevents avoidable harm. For once, Dana White, the man known for saying, "It's just part of the game," sounded like he'd had enough of the game itself. The UFC may sell chaos, but moments like this prove even chaos has limits. Within hours of Dana White's press conference, clips of his explicit outburst, "It's ridiculous," spread across every MMA outlet and social feed. Bloody Elbow titled their piece, "Dana White's X-rated warning should worry fans." It wasn't just the profanity that made headlines, it was the honesty. Fans are used to seeing White play promoter, not prophet. This time, he looked fed up. On Twitter and Reddit, fans debated whether his outrage was sincere or damage control. Some praised him for finally acknowledging how frequent and dangerous eye pokes have become, while others accused him of deflection. "He's been running this company for decades," one fan wrote. "Why is he shocked now?" Others countered that it was the first time a sitting champion had been hospitalized from one mid-title defense, a wake-up call too loud to ignore. Meanwhile, former fighters weighed in. Michael Bisping, who lost vision in one eye, said he understood White's anger but warned that talking won't fix it, action will. Fighters like Bilal Muhammad and Leon Edwards reposted the clip with their own experiences, reigniting the debate over glove redesign and stricter enforcement. The irony? White's fury may have done more to push the safety discussion forward than any official statement ever could. His frustration felt real, raw, human. The voice of a man watching his empire repeatedly trip over the same stone. And for once, fans weren't just talking about the fight. They were talking about the fight business. By the next day, White's tone had softened slightly. During a follow-up interview, he said, "Tom's getting looked after. The kid's a warrior. We'll take care of him." It was classic Dana, part reassurance, part brand control. But even as he played caretaker, the weight of expectation hung heavy. The UFC machine doesn't stop, and its leader can't show weakness. Yet behind that steel facade, White knows one thing. The line between spectacle and safety is shrinking. Privately, UFC executives began discussing backup plans. Could they crown an interim champion if Aspinall's recovery stretched too long? Would Gain deserve another shot? Or should they pivot to Sergey Pavlovich or Curtis Blades? Every scenario had financial implications. Every delay cost millions. For White, who's built a career on adapting fast, this was one of the few moments he couldn't fix with matchmaking. When asked if he blamed Gain, White refused. He didn't mean it. You can't blame the guy. But intent doesn't matter when the result's the same. That line hit hard. For all his bluster, White was articulating the uncomfortable truth. MMA's most dangerous injuries are rarely malicious. They're mechanical. And as long as the system remains unchanged, accidents like this are inevitable. The power of his position means he can drive reform, but the pressure of his empire means he has to protect momentum. In that tension lies the UFC's greatest challenge. Can it grow without breaking the fighters who built it?